And we're rocking in a rocky hill, the best place to live if you're Jack or Jill. Take a walk to the riverside, put in your boat and you take a ride. We're rocking a rocky hill.
First of all, let me welcome you all to the Rocky Hill Historical Society's Thursday at 7 Zoom program featuring women in Rocky Hill history. Woohoo! We are going to have a wonderful evening talking with Mayor Lisa Marotta, Connecticut State Representative Kerry Wood, Judge Claudia Baio, Connecticut's Emergency Management and Homeland Security Deputy Commissioner Regina Rush-Kittle. My name is Ed Ciccarello. I am the current president of the society and your host for the discussion. Before we get too far into the program, I'd like to introduce you to our program coordinator, Gail Tyne, who will talk to you a bit about upcoming events. Gail?
Hi, I want to thank all of y'all for coming tonight. This is our third locally produced Thursday at 7 Zoom. They've been successful and we will be going forward with them. The ones we've had before have been on the last Thursday. As of next month, we will be moving it to the third Thursday of the month. The next Zoom presentation we do will be in conjunction with the library, and it will be announced in about a week. So watch for it on our Facebook website and the library one. In May, we're going to have our annual meeting by Zoom. We'll have live entertainment. We're going to have a great tour of Rocky Hill using our vintage photographs as our bus, as our tour bus. And then Bob will be doing a short presentation on some of the early notable women in Rocky Hill. In other words, the ones that aren't alive right now.
Well, that's not entirely accurate.
Oh, okay.
I think some of you know.
I'm using that from Ed, okay? But
Okay.
anyway, then we're also going to have a introduction to genealogy by one of our volunteers, Tim. And we're going to then have Boats on the River by our Vice President, Jack. And then in September, we're going to try to do a early education for girls in Rocky Hill through samplers, because heaven forbid if they could have gone to Academy Hall with the boys. So, and then I'm trying to put together a piece on the development of home ec, which is now consumer sciences in the Rocky Hill school system, with some of our current teachers and some of the earlier retired home ec teachers from Rocky Hill. And then we'll be into October, November, December and seeing what we're going to do, because a couple of those are set programs like our third graders, but we'll probably still have some Zooms. So again, I'm really thankful you're joining us. If you by any chance have a vintage sampler that you would like to loan us or donate to the museum, I would love that. If you have ideas for other programs, please let me know. And, or if you have a collection that you think would make a great discussion for us, as in February, we had Vintage Valentines that was quite enjoyable by the people that attended. I would love to have you give me a call. Let us know, send an email, whatever. So thank you. And our program can now start, Ed.
Thank you, Gail. Okay, so let's get into it. So here's the agenda. It's very simple. There's only two parts. The first part are the introductions, and we want to give 5 minutes to our distinguished leaders to describe their Rocky Hill connection, what their journey. I know that takes, we're going to ask you to take about 5 to 10 minutes to cram all that stuff into one little mini oral history. But where were you born? Were you born in Rocky Hill? Did you go to school here? What about your volunteer activities, work and church? What about your family heritage? Tell us a little bit about everything. I'll introduce each of our panelists very briefly, and then, as I said, they'll have their time to give us their little mini oral history. Group participation is encouraged, as I said. If you have a question, you can put it in chat, raise your hand, Gail will call on you, okay? After the introductions, then we'll talk about who are the Rocky Hill women that have influenced our panelists. Now keep it a secret, panelists, until the second part, okay? Don't spill the beans. Again, you can ask questions in the chat or raise your hand. So let's start with Judge Claudia Baio. Judge Baio is a Superior Court judge, currently the presiding judge of the Judicial District of New Haven and Waterbury Housing and Housing Criminal Matters, and the former mayor of this great town of Rocky Hill. I think I might have met you, Claudia, through the Historical Society. And of course, I know we had a lot of contact when you were mayor. We all would like to know more about your connection to the town. I do know you were born in the south end of Hartford. That's okay. That's cool, man. That's all right. But tell us about you and your family, your connection to Rocky Hill. What is it, Claudia, Judge Claudia?
So yes, so I was born in the south end of Hartford. Try and cram this into 5 minutes. But my
5
parents
to 10 minutes. You got it.
got it. My parents were both born and raised there too, first generation, and I was born and raised there. And when I was in college, they moved to Wethersfield. And when I graduated law school and it was time for me to go out on my own, I was sort of drawn to Rocky Hill. We used to joke around in the South End, kind of a tight-knit Italian American community, and we used to joke around that when most people move south, they move to Florida, but when you're in the south end of Hartford and you move south, you move to Rocky Hill. So when I was looking for somewhere to go, you know, it was just a natural connection because we were always very involved in our community in the south end of Hartford. And as I was looking, my parents were helping me look for places that might be appropriate. And I just felt like Rocky Hill in particular, 30 years ago, I've been in town for 30 years. So basically now, even though I was born and raised in Hartford, I've lived more of my life in Rocky Hill. So when I moved here, there were so many people from either that my parents knew, so I knew through them, or classmates. If you turn around, there's tons of South Catholic high school grads that live in Rocky Hill. So some of my classmates' kids and my son were in school together, and it was just that same strong community feel. And again, a lot of my friends were moving here. So I first lived in a condo up at Cliffside Condos and started to get involved with the condo association. We were always, the idea of being involved with your community and volunteerism was a big deal in my household. My father founded the Italian American Home in Hartford. My mother was very involved with volunteering and led the Girls Brigade at St. Augustine School. And so we were raised with that kind of community connection. The goal was your family went beyond just your household and into your neighborhood. And so that's how it was with Rocky Hill. As soon as I came here, there were already friends here, and they know that I'm a joiner. I like to join, I like to volunteer, I like to get involved with my community. And so that's what I did. Tony Guerrera, who's a name that you all know, was a friend of mine before we both came to Rocky Hill, and started to get involved in things together. So as far as trying to fit this into a Reader's Digest version, I started getting involved with town activities, town involvement, town committees, working on people's campaigns politically. And then as my son was born and grew up in town, I was a West Hill room parent, active with the PTO, catechist for St. James Church, and worked with the homeless shelter feeding ministry there. I still do that. And again, because I like to get involved in things both professionally and civically, I've held a lot of leadership positions. And one of those was the Rocky Hill Chamber of Commerce. Held all the offices and was the president, actually the holdover president. Again, I tend to be the butt of a few good-hearted jokes. That one was that I was like the FDR of the Chamber of Commerce because I held the office for a little bit longer since we needed somebody to take over. But when it came time for me to open my law practice, so I had held, again, I was partner at a firm in Hartford. I was there for many years and managed a law firm for statewide, and was fortunate to be able to move that into my own practice. So the obvious location for me to do that was Rocky Hill. So for the longest time, I held my law practice on the corner of Elm Street and was there until in 2014, I was asked to join the historic law firm of Howard Cohn Sprague and Fitzgerald. They've been in Hartford since 1786, one of the oldest, actually the oldest continuously operating firm in the country. Tried to get them to Rocky Hill. They weren't exactly inclined to break their history for me, but we did continue to maintain a Rocky Hill presence. And we're actually, we were in the process of looking for a remote location or satellite location when I was appointed to the bench. So, so there's that connection. And with the town, before, of course, I was the mayor and had to step down in my second term to take my current position. But before that, I had always been involved in the town as well. I was the assistant to the town attorney for litigation matters. My law practice covered the entire state of Connecticut and frequently involved out-of-state travel. I also had to manage an out-of-state firm, but kept the central location for it, and the home office was actually in Rocky Hill. I was counsel for the Rocky Hill Fair Rent Commission, served on the insurance committee and was its chair. I served as a hearing officer both and zoning violations, and down from doing that, I was elected as mayor, as the town chair, and represented a lot of municipalities. The only one that I would not represent because of my connection, this may sound counterintuitive, but I did not represent the town of Rocky Hill in litigation matters through my statewide representation because it just seemed the right thing to do. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I've been 30 years and I love it here. I've always loved it here. I believe very strongly in getting involved. So I don't know, I probably left things out, but I think that's my 10 minutes.
Well, that was about 6. That was awesome. Could you listen? We got wiggle room here, and I hope everybody is able to hear well. It was going in and out a little bit for me, but could you talk a little bit more? I don't know, Gail, if there's any questions. Were there any questions there? Otherwise, I'm going to ask one.
Not yet.
I'm going to ask you one. Could you tell us a little bit more about your judgeship? Being a judge.
Sure, what do you want to know?
Well, I mean, what's it like? I mean, I have no idea. There's, I mean,
So yeah, the initial process was actually, once you get once I shouldn't say you, once I got the word that I was being nominated, then things go very rapidly. So I was nominated by Governor Malloy, and then, so prior to that, there's an entire vetting process that you go through. And so I was nominated by Governor Malloy, and then I had to go before the Judiciary Committee. And it was a publicized hearing that a ton of people ask you questions. And if, fortunately, I made it through that level. And once you make it through that level, then it goes to the House and the Senate for votes. And once that is successfully accomplished, then it was just, I had literally like 3 weeks to wrap up my 30-year law practice and go to judges school. And so I was in judges school all day and then working at nights and weekends to transition my practice. And it's a great new challenge. I very much believe in public service, as you probably know. And it's a new level of challenge. So I don't know if there are specific questions, but I'm very fortunate to have the job that I have, and I love it.
I don't have a lot of experience with judges, not being in a courtroom. There was one time that I was in a courtroom, and it's always a little intimidating, I must say. But you are not, I mean, you're so friendly, and when I say, well, it's Claudia, she's a judge, So
I think
Claudia, thank you. I think we'll move on, and let me. That was a good. I'm glad you were breathing in between. but you got a lot of
I
information
tried to
out
do
there.
it.
You did a great job. So our next notable Rocky Hill woman is our current mayor, Lisa Marotta. And I believe I met Mayor Marotta also at the Historical Society. And of course, contacting her, I'm sure, right, as she so loves all the time, to my emails to her. Recently, we've worked together a little bit on complete streets, creating a greenway in town, sustainable Connecticut. She's a very busy woman, and we know, Mayor Marotta, you are engrossed in everything Rocky Hill related. But do we know your Rocky Hill connection?
Dun, dun, dun.
What is the Rocky Hill connection?
Yeah. So I was actually born in Middletown, and my husband, like Claudia, was born in the south end of Hartford. And so he has that Catholic, the Catholic school background and East Naylor School. And when we actually met at a restaurant in Rocky Hill, and my sister-in-law, she was not, we were not married, but my soon-to-be sister-in-law lived in Rocky Hill, and she loved it. She raved about the schools. She raved about the fact that a lot of people her age were coming to live in Rocky Hill and Wethersfield, similar to what Claudia had said. And their parents were still staying in Hartford in the South End, but there was a new generation that was moving this way. And we thought, all right, well, halfway between Middletown and Hartford is Rocky Hill. So we took our life savings and we bought a lot. And we sat on it for many years, had 2 children, living in Wethersfield, and then eventually started to build here our dream house. And slowly but surely, I started getting involved in different things as my kids started to become school age. So I think probably one of the first things I did was to get involved with brownies and Girl Scouts and PTOs and things like that. And through those organizations, you meet a lot of people, and that's where you really start to hear what are the issues going on in your town and what's important to different people. And so I think, year after year, I just started trying new things, joining new organizations, running the Rocky Hill Education Foundation for a number of years, and eventually joining some commissions and boards, and then getting more actively involved in politics. And that really is my connection here. Is just started out young, and through the children getting to know so many different families. And my kids are really spread out. So I have a daughter who's in college, and my youngest one is still just getting into middle school, and then I have one in high school. So there are so many different age groups and so many different issues that happen in between those different age groups. So I think I just feel very blessed to be in this position right now, and to be in this town. It's just a wonderful place to be. Huge sense of community. Anytime anything significant goes on, you really just see people come out and rally and support one another, good, bad, and different. Everyone's got each other's backs, and it's just a great place to live.
Lisa, you came from Middletown, but
Yeah,
where did you go to school, like elementary school? Did I miss?
I grew up in Middletown, so I went
the whole way.
the whole way. Yeah. So I went to elementary school at Lawrence Elementary. I don't know that it even exists anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, so I all of churches and all of that was all in Middletown. So we didn't come here, until early 2000.
I've been here longer than you. I was here in 1995.
Well, there you go. Wow.
Wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
high school and college, what did I hear anything?
Yeah, high school was in Middletown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I actually went to Quinnipiac for college. And then when I was much older, I was in my 30s, I went back to Quinnipiac for law school. And I was fortunate enough, my husband opened his business here in Rocky Hill. And I eventually opened up my law practice here. And I also, for many, many years, worked right around the corner at the Chief State's Attorney's Office as a special prosecutor. And I did statewide prosecution. So I was lucky enough to get into all of the different courthouses.
Does anybody have a question for Mayor Marotta? Gail, is there any questions? Are there
Not
any
yet.
questions?
I mean, I have a question, but it's probably for all four, so I can wait.
Okay, you're not going to talk about taxes though, right, Gail?
Oh, please, I'll do that in person. But I
Mayor-
don't object. I never complain about taxes. That's one of the few things I don't complain about.
Mayor Marotta, tell us which park is your favorite park. Do you have a favorite without? What do you?
No, it fluctuates, but I'm gonna say, oh my goodness, probably Quarry Park. I would say Quarry Park. Yeah, I'm so impressed when I'm out there, just by the views and everything. It's like you don't even feel like you're in Rock Hill. And I think doing all the people who take care of the trails, and it's I mean, sometimes it's dividend, you know, depending if I have the dogs, and sometimes it's actually Sewillow Park. It's just so peaceful to sit there with a coffee, you know, and reflect. So I think all of the parks are really spectacular, and we're very fortunate in that regard.
We are very, very fortunate. I don't know, did other people hear her breaking up a little bit? Was that just me? No? Okay.
Just
It's
you.
just you.
Just me. I'm getting a little, well, that's good. I'm glad that you could hear. Mayor Marotta, thank you very much. We know now your connection more so to Rocky Hill. Thank you. Next up is Regina Rush-Kittle. She is Connecticut's Emergency Management and Homeland Security Deputy Commissioner. It's a mouthful. And another Rocky Hill notable woman. Thank you for being here. She was appointed Deputy Commissioner in 2019, but her law enforcement career started back in 1983 with the Connecticut Department of Correction. I did not meet her in prison, I will say that, nor did I meet her at the Historical Society. I will say, however, that I was in the audience when you were recognized by our former mayor, Mayor Baio, and I was proud to learn that you represent the town of Rocky Hill. So I have one question though for you. What is your Rocky Hill connection?
Well, thank you, Ed, and everyone that's dialed in this evening. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. So my Rocky Hill connection. Well, I'll start off and say, like our current mayor, I grew up in Middletown, and interestingly enough, we arrived in Rocky Hill after my husband mistakenly believed that the house we were buying was in Cromwell. So we took off on a ride to view the house, and I quickly realized that we were not in Cromwell, but we were in Rocky Hill. So he grew up in New Haven. So when you go on a ride in New Haven, you can ride for an extended period of time and you're still in New Haven. I grew up in Middletown, so I knew all of the town lines here in the area really quickly. But we were now in Rocky Hill. We loved the house. So we purchased the house, and me, my husband, and my son, we grew to love the town. It was very different in Rocky Hill from Middletown, and it was very, very different from New Haven when my husband grew up. So we just grew and to love the town. 4 years after we moved here, we had a daughter, and 6 years after that, we purchased our second home in Rocky Hill. And at that time, shortly after that time, I met our neighbor, then attorney Claudia Baio. Here, I have been honored to be included in many things in the town, to include the veterans display in the town hall at one point. I was later honored when returning with deployed veterans at Elmridge Park. I've been a member of I'm a member of the VFW here in town and having participated in many activities with the VFW there. As a result of that, I later was a guest speaker at our Memorial Day ceremony right after the parade. I later then became involved with the Rocky Hill Police Cadets when my daughter became a police cadet, and I went there on several occasions to do classes with them on domestic violence and report writing. So I worked closely with the police cadets during that time. And I was also honored by then Mayor Baio in the town after I was inducted into the Connecticut Women's Hall of Fame. So that's some of the things that I've done here while in Rocky Hill, the town I've grown to love.
Amazing. What year was it that you moved into town?
1994.
1994.
Yes.
And so that's a bunch of years. And so how do you think the town has changed since then? Or has it? Maybe you don't think it's changed. I think it's changed. Do you?
Oh, it's changed quite a bit.
Right.
A lot of new and exciting things for the town. So when I say when we first moved here, it was so much more different than Middletown. We have some of the things that were missing in Middletown. We now have them, but we still have that smaller community feeling here. But you know, I don't have to travel far to get anywhere. It's right here, right here. So,
We are almost the center of the state.
Yes.
We have a few things that in the historical society where that was a little promo at one time that Rocky Hill, was the center of the state. So, Deputy Commissioner, how did you get into the world that you're living in now? The world that when I read your bio and I'm going, wow, you're a veteran, you're correct, Department of Corrections. I mean, what drove you into that? What inspired you to get there or to go there, go down that journey, down that path?
in my when I went to college, my initial goal was to graduate from UConn and to be an attorney, much like the two attorneys that spoken before me. So, but I did not have the funds at that time. But before that, I had realized that I could go to college and also join the military if I did the reserves. So I always wanted to serve in uniform, but if I went to college and joined the reserves, I could do both. I can do both of best worlds. That for me was, and then with that, I ended up after graduating from college. As I said, I couldn't afford to go to law school. I ended up was still with that in the horizon somewhere. I was hoping, but I went to the Department of Corrections and I decided that I liked doing that, but I did not want to work so much in a correctional facility where you're there 8 hours a day, locked in inside. But let me now pursue the law enforcement aspect of it and applied to Middletown Police Department, the town that I had grown up in, and I was hired. And there was no turning back after that.
You know, we have at the Historical Society a number of uniforms and a number of artifacts from former veterans. We have some very old objects here, and it's nice. I mean, if you think as you go through your all the things that are you have gone through in your life, and you say, boy, I'd like to preserve this somehow. You could, feel free to. We could start a little box of Regina Rush-Kittle. You know what I mean? And we can put some things there for you. Which would be great, because we like also. I don't want to say you're historic now because you're not historic, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yes, I know what you're saying. And I'm hoping my husband is not dialed in on the line because he might start packing the box tomorrow morning. 'cause I do have quite a few things that he would not mind.
Yeah, yeah. So think about it. We love to be promoters, you know. Uh, so thank you very. Any questions, Gail? No.
Not yet.
Okay. I guess I'm going to hog the question here. I'll be the interrogator. So thank you very much, Deputy Commissioner. Our last notable but not least woman for the first part of our program is Representative Kerry Wood. Representative Wood represents the residents of Rocky Hill in the 29th District at the state legislature. I met Representative Wood at, of all places, the Historical Society, the friendly little museum in the center of Rocky Hill, and also, I would say, on the trail with Walk Bike Rocky Hill. I know she could ride up a hill much faster than I can. She loves horses, and I know there's much, much more. So Representative Wood, what's your connection to Rocky Hill?
And thanks so much for having me. And I'm just so happy to say that I was able to work with all three of the previous speakers in some capacity, and it's been wonderful. So I just feel so fortunate. But my connection to Rocky Hill is I'm born and raised here. You know, most of my 29 years, joking, I have been in Rocky Hill. I was born on Walnut Road in over by the old Mosher School, and I did walk 2 feet and 2 feet of snow uphill to school back in the day. And my parents are both born and raised in Rocky Hill, so we do have a long connection, and their parents were here too. My mother's family is the McKenna, John and June McKenna, and my father's family are Mary and Francis Except. So we spent a long time here in Rocky Hill. I went to Mosher School for K through 2, went to West Hill, and then I was redistricted in the middle of my elementary school and went to Stevens, and then went to the middle school and high school. So I did get to go to every school in Rocky Hill, and I love the Rocky Hill Public Schools. And when I knock on doors to run for office, I bump into not only my former classmates, but former teachers and referees and coaches and janitors and DARE officers. So it really is such a wonderful small town. I am a member of the St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. My grandfather and grandmother were founding members of that church. And through that church, the former pastor, Father Bill, got me involved in something called Faith in Action, which has evolved over the years. But we helped seniors with yard work and social activities and transportation. And that's how I met a lot of people that are on this call here that are also members of the Historical Society. I worked with people on a group called Save Open Space, which was really how Dividend Park came to be town property. And I went to school at American University in Washington, D.C., but always found my way back here. My husband and I got married and did spend some time away from Rocky Hill, but we are back here. I love Rocky Hill. If you see a woman riding a horse down the middle of France Street or New Road, that's me. So I am the woman that rides the horses through the town. And I really love it here. I love that we're the center of Connecticut, and I love that we can get anywhere within 20 minutes. And I just really enjoy the groups and the community and the small town feel. So I'm a Rocky Hill woman to the core.
You are for sure a Rocky Hillian of the first here. I did not know. I really truly did not know. I knew about Claudia. I did not know about Regina. I did not know about Lisa, but how about that? A true Rocky Hillian. Did we miss where you went to college?
I went to American University in Washington, D.C.
And what did you study? What was your? What was your degree? Are you frozen? Am I frozen?
You're breaking up.
Are you there, Kerry?
Yes, I can hear you. I think you just broke up a little
Oh,
bit.
sorry. I was asking you what was your degree? What was your,
Political science.
who would have ever thought?
Who would have thought? Yeah, my grandfather, after soccer games, he'd pick us all up, you know, and offer to drive us home. But what he really meant to do was to hand us a bunch of flyers and have us run around a neighborhood and drop lit on people's doors, you know, after our games. So we've always been very active in town. My dad was a member of the Board of Ed and the town council, and my aunts and uncles were, you know, involved in town, and it's just something we did. And, you know, public service is just part of our family, it's part of our blood, and giving back to the community and putting in that time is just something that I was raised doing. So it was really no question for me when Tony Guerrera decided to run for the Senate and the seat opened up, and I said, all right, we're gonna run for office. So you know, it just came natural to me.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. Boy, we have, what a thread we have with all of our notable women, the idea of public service. And can't we just duplicate everyone here and get that going with our kids? And I think it's happened. I think it's happened. I don't know if I'm breaking up or not, but Gail, you were saying you have a question?
Yes, I'd like to ask my question now, if it's okay.
Please, please.
Okay, in the last few days, Boston is going to it's been announced that the Boston mayor will be female. That's the first female mayor that they've had ever. It's also the first non-Irish or non-Catholic, Italian mayor that they have had. So I'm wondering why all four of you think that Rocky Hill has been more open through the years to being represented by females. Why you're in your positions, why we've had town managers that were female, why we're willing, granted we're small, but small sometimes is not open as large. So just wondering what you think.
Who wants to take a stab at that?
I'm happy to take a stab at that, just to get the conversation going. I think that, you know, the woman I'm going to talk about, you know, today is Kitty Tracy, who, you know, in the 50s was running for state rep and state senator. And I just think we've had women blazing the path for us for so long in this town, whether it's, you know, being on the Board of Ed, being mayor, you know, look at Barbara Cirillo, you know, running the town like Barbara Gilbert did. We have this long history of women being involved and stepping up and, you know, really blazing the path for us. So Rocky Hill doesn't celebrate all these firsts because we've had all these women doing it, you know, for a long period of time. And I think that's what makes, you know, our town so special and, you know, why we're all here. So we just have a wonderful group of women that have come, you know, before us for many, many generations.
Yeah, and I'll pipe in as well. Kerry, I think, hit the nail on the head. You know, when you look at Rocky Hill, sometimes small doesn't mean that we're not mighty and progressive. And I think you'll hear that from the theme of some of the folks. I know we're supposed to not say who we're talking about, but that's a little teaser for one of my people. But, you know, again, we have the diversity in town that Boston is a big, wonderful, historic place. But, you know, again, there's a lot of tradition there and places are different. And in Rocky Hill, we've had the diversity, we have the community connection, and we do have, I think the word that Kerry used that hits the nail on the head is the trailblazing women. And, you know, you just need a couple to sort of start making the crack for the opening to occur. And you look at some of the folks that I think in particular the theme of this event that you folks were wonderful enough to put on, and you'll see there are so many strong women that set the stage for progress and for us to move forward.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both of those sentiments. I think that one of the benefits of being a small town is that when you have positions that open up, pretty much everyone knows one another, or we know someone who knows someone. And I think that because we are such a close community, and that we tend to listen to one another respectfully, that when we share our opinions about what other women are doing, we are more likely to empower one another, and that's really what it's all about. The more we as women can empower one another, irrespective of what side of the aisle we sit on, or what our beliefs are, the better off the next generation is going to be, because we want to focus on empowering our younger generation, and we need to do that by modeling that type of good behavior. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we've been so successful in putting women forward in leadership positions, is because we recognize first and foremost that they have an important contribution, but that they are very, very good at what they do, and that they bring others up with them when they do it, and they share that. And that's something that we will continue to do moving forward.
Nice. Regina, did you want to say something?
I'll just throw in real quickly that I'm proud to know that she's a woman of color. So kudos to Boston. That's all I have. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Any other questions before we get into the second part of the program? Thank you, Gail.
None so far.
Okay, so
there's a woman with her hand up, Shilpa.
Hi, Ed.
go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to ask everyone, like you guys are, all the women, they are all great, and they have been involved in the community services from very young age. So what is the one piece of advice you want to give it to the people who are trying to come in, or, they have an interest in community services? Just one piece of advice, what would that be?
Great, thank you, Shilpa. Who would like to begin on that one?
Sure, happy to. I would just say, feel free to start anywhere. You could start getting involved through, your religious group. You could start getting involved through coaching or any of the youth groups. There are so many ways to volunteer within the community. You could be a trailblazer with Ed and his team with the Walk Bike Rocky Hill. The sky is the limit here in town, and how to get involved and just start, with any of those.
Yeah, I don't know if we can see you. I'm a little challenged here, as I told Ed, I've had a little computer issue, so I'm doing this on my phone, and I can't see everybody's faces at one time, so I apologize. But I think I found you. There you are. But yeah, as Kerry said, if you're looking for the one, there's no magic to it, but the one piece of advice is find your passion and join. So, like I said, I'm a joiner. So if there's an interest you have, if you're interested in gardening, there's a gardening club. If you're interested in library or books, there's the library offers a ton of different activities and groups. There's the Historical Society, Walk Bike Rocky Hill. If you're interested in birding, there are so many different things. And so I think the key is find something that is a passion for you, and just get out there and join, and you'll meet people, and it'll expand your horizons and connect you with the community. And you may find that there's something else from there. It'll just sort of blossom.
Anybody else?
I also want to mention something in terms of that. Can
No,
you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
We don't, oh, okay. I was just going to add to that, the town itself has, the town council has like subcommittees where members of the town can be on this subcommittee. There's one on the environment. There's maybe Kerry can help me fill in all the other ones, but there's a ton of them. There's for the senior citizens. There's some for working on a project, like if we're building something new in town, you could be on the building committee. Actually, the mayor might be able to help with that too. Aren't there some that are looking for members?
Every general screen.
Yeah.
Mayor Marotta?
And they're listed on the town, website, right?
Yeah, so we have a lot of boards and commissions and subcommittees. And those positions are typically filled certain times of the year, and they have, I guess, periods, you could say, of when that service begins and when that service ends. So it's not like something where you can just pick up the phone and say, I'd like to join that committee, not in that respect, not those types of committees, but certainly when positions open up.
Screen with you and the chicken.
We have that available. We certainly have that availability. And we always welcome people from the public to join those, because it's, that's how we get things done in town, right? It's a lot of these volunteer commissions where a lot of the decision making is actually made coming up from the bottom and simply making a recommendation to the council. So those volunteers are really integral to getting work done here that benefits the community. And so I would absolutely encourage anyone who is interested in getting more involved to take a look at those boards and commissions and subcommittees, and usually around election time. That's when, right after the election, we start to fill those positions.
Well, and since they're with the town council, I think you could probably reach out to one of the town councilors to find out more. If you're looking for like an individual, who do I call? Would it be a town councilor?
I don't know you're welcome to call a town councilor. Absolutely. Their numbers and their emails, not their phone numbers, are on the website. You might want to, start with a town manager. Someone's always welcome to call me, and we can talk about what the different roles are in those committees and subcommittees and commissions and so forth, so that, next year, this time when there are openings, if, people can see what's there. Sure.
And the parties, the town parties, the Democratic Town Committee and the Republican Town Committee, I think they are very helpful in connecting townspeople to these kinds of positions in town.
Okay, so let us, if we can, thank you for those questions and comments. If we can, now I want to get into the second part of this, and for this section, I'd like to see maybe if we can have some interaction, just like we did with our four panelists. And now we're interested in, and Kerry sort of spilled the beans a little bit on her one person. And you can have more than one. That's okay. But who are the women that have influenced you as you've gone through your life in Rocky Hill? I mean, we'd like to know more about Rocky Hill, but if there's somebody outside of Rocky Hill, that's okay too. Who are your influences? I will just briefly say that one of the women that influenced me in my life for Rocky Hill has been June Cook. June Cook was a member of the Historical Society, and she was very active in archaeology. And she was the one who did all the research for Dividend. Before Dividend was a park, it was just open space. But June Cook went over there in between 2002 and 2006, and she did all kinds of research, and she located 10 archaeological sites. And she went out there and she put little 2x2s with a coffee can, and she put numbers on it, and she mimeographed paper and laminated it. And so the reason why we have Dividend Park today is because of June Cook. And I'll never forget the day we opened up. We had a grand opening in June of 2012. Um, we had a lot of people there, and June's family was there. And I had June on speakerphone, and I was sort of emceeing things. And I was trying to, be all kinds of formal and be like, give a little proclamation and whatnot. And June was in Arizona. She was listening to me on the phone in Arizona. And when I was done, the first words out of her mouth, she said, "Boy, you really laid it on thick, didn't you?" She said, but June was a great woman and certainly an inspiration to me. So who I think we have Lisa, Mayor Marotta. You like to start us off? Would you like to give us your
Sure.
influential person?
Yeah.
Go for
Well,
it.
now, so I came to Rocky Hill a little bit later in life. So when you gave us this homework assignment, I was really diligent about trying to find women, from back in history and who was I going to talk about. And I was kind of anxious, to be honest with you. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to kind of give, I think, a tribute more so to people who I think have, not just inspired me, but who I admire. And the first one, and I'm sure there's going to be overlap here, but the first one is former Mayor Barbara Cirillo. And I didn't know Barbara as well as some of our other panelists, I'm sure. But I can tell you that, not just the fact that she's the first female mayor, I mean, obviously that's impressive, but one of the things that I always recall about her is that she was always accessible and she was always friendly. And, you could talk issues with her and she listened to everyone's point of view. And she had this contagious smile. And I always remember at the Memorial Day parade when, I would see her in her patriotic colors, and she was always just so proud of her community, and really that inspires me when I think about her, as a reminder of, what it means to be in this role and to be open-minded and accessible, right? And listening to folks. That's really what it's all about. So then I looked more back in history and I came up with Cora J. Belding, right? Because I think that she was a pretty impressive woman. She was, I think she moved here when she was in her early 20s back in the 1800s, was it? Yeah, 1894. And, she was so actively involved in the community. And I read up that she was involved for maybe like 30 years, particularly with the library. But what I found amazing about her is that she actually did things out of her house, not just at the library, which shows such a huge level of commitment and passion for her community. And I really admire that. And so I just wanted to, choose her as one of the women that I think is still influential, right? And then I think when I think about it, it's obviously all of the women who are on this panel, but it's also all of the women who are just out there in Rocky Hill doing every day. Those who are quietly working behind the scenes to get issues resolved, those who are vocal about things that they like to get done. And I think in particular, our young women, they are a big inspiration for me, even the kids today, because when we consider everything that, we have gone through in the past year, even now it's getting on, almost a year and a half, right? It's so important, the messaging that we're giving to our children and especially our girls. And, they're going to come out of this time period with all kinds of knowledge that, we just didn't even have when we were kids, that we couldn't even fathom. I mean, when you think today about all of the great accomplishments and where we are with technology and, sending SpaceX up to the International Space Station, but still there are so many things that we haven't moved the needle on, right? And I think that we've learned that. And so for the girls, when I listen to them, even the young girls and those who are still in high school, they inspire what they're seeing happen today in the world and how they view things and how they want to change things, right? Because I think right now they're going to come into the world and recognize, not only did we get through a pandemic, right, but we're learning a lot about racial and social injustice, and we need to empower them to get out there and make the right decisions. So I'm inspired just by listening to these kids.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If there's no other questions, we'll go to Deputy Commissioner Regina. You're up.
Yes, okay, thank you.
You're
So, I think when you look at people to inspire you, I think that you, like I know I did. I hope that I could find someone who perhaps looks like me, and that is very difficult and to be in for most of my life in that position because of the career path that I chose. So I not only am I a Black female, but I chose a dual career path comprised of very few females and even fewer Black females. So those who have inspired me and who have made an impact on my life are made up of a collage of people. So I have male, female, Black, white, brown. And so in that collage, woven into that collage from Rocky Hill is Judge Claudia Baio. And I moved to my second house, as I said earlier, in Rocky Hill, and she was my neighbor. And the first time I actually officially met her was when her new dog ran away, and my husband and I ended up getting the dog and getting the leash on it and holding it there for her till we could find her and get her. And she was out frantically looking for a dog. So that was our first official meeting of her. And then the next time we really were introduced, I knew of her the whole time. The next time we were introduced to each other, she came to our house, and let me know that she was running for mayor. And she thought she had to let me know who she was. I knew who she was as soon as I opened the door. And then I listened to her as she talked about it with a great deal of passion, why she was running for the office and what she was going to do for Rocky Hill. And we finished the conversation, and she, as she walked away on the porch and I closed the door, I called up to my husband in the house, William, we're going to be voting for our neighbor in November. And okay. And there was no questions about it. I followed everything that was written about her after that time. And when it was time to vote on that election day, we both voted for her. And from that moment on, that second meeting, her continued success has inspired me from then, and will continue for the rest of my career, I'm sure. So that is my Rocky Hill connection to a woman who has inspired me.
Marvelous. Thank you. Thank you so much. It sounds like Judge Baio, you want to go next, I think. Huh?
Is that okay?
That's okay. I think you're ready.
I think because Ed's teeing this up because it's actually very funny.
Yeah.
Because first of all, Regina, you're gonna make me cry, but it's actually very funny because one of the two folks that I picked is Regina Rush-Kittle. And actually, when I was telling Ed, I asked Ed 1,000 questions. Do we pick somebody that we know? Does it have to be somebody historic? He said, no, somebody that that you've had that has been influential on you. So I said, there's no question in my mind who the two people are. they're my longstanding dear friend, Barbara Cirillo, and my dear friend, Regina Rush-Kittle. And Regina is just amazing. You've heard so many things about her. The funny thing is, I was going to tell the story about the dog as I was frantically running. We had just adopted this rescue dog, and it was a Friday after hours, so I couldn't get her registered yet until Monday. And she got out when we were outside in the yard, and I'm running barefooted up the street yelling her name. And Regina and her family, this is my first introduction when I knew what a wonderful woman she was and how wonderful her family was. They came out and they frantically helped look for my dog and found her, and we brought her home. And I'm happy to say she never ran away again after that. But Regina, not only is she unbelievable as far as her accomplishments go, you heard some of what Ed has mentioned tonight, but she's just a shining example of leadership and a role model, and especially for young women, but for everybody. And her daughter is lovely. She clearly did a great job with her kids. Her daughter also has gotten actively involved, and she's lucky that she has the parents that she has, and that her mother has been such a trailblazer. And then you'll hear that term a lot, but truly, as Regina mentioned, she's been involved in a field that is predominantly male and has done amazing things. She's been a first at so many things, and she's so humble that she didn't include all of those. But I had the pleasure of meeting her and getting to know her, and every time she does something amazing, which is pretty regularly, I join in celebrating her accomplishments, which is why I was so excited we were able to honor her in Rocky Hill after she was inducted into the Connecticut Women's Hall of Fame in, was 2017, Regina? Is that right?
Yes. Yes, Joe.
And she was the first of so many things, and she's a veteran. She served overseas. She's just it would take too long to go through everything. But the other part that you don't hear about, there's the FBI Academy. I mean, she's just done so many things that it's hard not to be impressed by that. But the part that you don't see on the resume is that she is, in addition to having achieved so many things, and as a woman and as a minority woman. So, we're already minorities. And then, so she's been the first African-American woman to do all these wonderful things. And she is an incredibly warm and wonderful person who is committed to her family. And I want to just turn this little anecdote back to her, because Regina, I would love for you to tell them about the amazing Christmas decoration collections you have, because it's just astounding that she would rival the Wadsworth Athenaeum, but it's not just because of the Festival of Trees. Her trees have meaning. Regina, can I have her bounce into my part to just tell you before I
Yes,
move on to
yes, please.
Okay, yep, I will. Okay, my Christmas tree decoration is coming out to the town of Rocky Hill.
It's out now.
Is that okay? I should have asked first.
I decided as I became an adult, one of the important things that I always wanted my kids and my family to have is that Christmas was going to be the best week of our lives, and every year. And so I started gathering, collecting all kind of Christmas decorations, and each year the collection grows. And due to COVID, last Christmas I was not able to do my normal Christmas display, but the last year that I put it out in 2019, I had a total of 31 trees. So one tree for every day of the month of December, as I fondly refer to them as. And they have a theme, and it's not just a tree. There's a whole display around most of the trees. They range in size from 2 feet to 10 feet. My husband William has to carry up the crates, and that is from the basement and place them throughout the house, and that's usually his contribution. So my daughter and I have decorated them, and we have um, usually I do a few small parties of come over to a tour, and for the last probably about 4 years or so, rather than I had the guests either bring an appetizer or canned goods, non-perishables, and they would load them up outside of the house, and me and my daughter, after the holiday were over, we would bring those down and uh, donate them to the Rocky Hill uh, food pantry. And each year after that, I would get a nice thank you card. And we'd unload 2 big bins of food, non-perishables to the community. And so that's I had left that part out there, but thank you. I'm seeing Judge Baio, but thank you.
I hope it was okay that I should have asked you if it was okay for me to tell them about your collection, but I just thought that was just so amazing that despite everything she's doing professionally, she just is so passionate about everything else too, and is able to be just a warm and welcoming and wonderful person all around. So thank you, Regina, for being my friend and for being my inspiration. And my other person, I'll just move on to the next person is, of course, Barbara Cirillo. And I know that there's a little bit of overlap, but I'll just say, I mean, I know that we could probably fill a whole session on Barbara. But I've known Barbara, I think Butch is on the line, her husband. I know her daughter was going to try to be here. So I think we might have some of the Cirillo family in this.
Yes, Lisa is here.
I've known Barbara since I was in high school. She actually knew both my husband and I, and she was involved in a tangential way with a youth group that we participated in, that I participated in. And my husband and I have known each other since we were 15. So she's been part of our lives. She knew my parents. And again, we had a lot of similarities in our backgrounds, which is why I think we had such a strong connection. Barbara has always actively been involved and a very passionate advocate. People that know Barbara generally use the same words. I know a lot of you do, and I don't know if these words come to mind for you, but a few that sort of float to the top are tenacious, passionate, great debater, and as I had mentioned early on with my little teaser, small but mighty. And she had, first of all, we had a lot of things in our background in common. We were both born in Hartford, both raised in a modest Italian American community. She went to Hartford public schools like my parents did. I went to the Hartford Catholic schools. She and I were both the first in our family to get a college degree. She had a lot more degrees than I did, though, and had she's just unbelievable biochemistry, environmental background. Just so many things. And one of the historic things that she's known for that everybody probably thinks of if they know Barbara is I-90 or 291.
91.
Barbara actually was, she lived consistently the theme of don't back down, fight for what you believe in, and do everything with gusto and passion. And whether you agreed with her or not, the one thing that you couldn't dispute is that she was well-meaning, she was committed to her community and her family, and her family included her community. And so with the I-291, that was like a long-standing project over the years. And then in the 1970s, there was a battle because basically Barbara led the charge. And she was known, she got the nickname the freeway fighter because she fought against having I-291 come through. It was going to come through Rocky Hill between, I think, exits 23 and 24. And thanks to her, and this was something that was supported by the governor at the time, but thanks to Barbara leading the charge, it was important to her and she wasn't going to let it go, and she was successful in defeating it. And she actually was profiled back. I don't know if people remember the Parade magazine that used to come out on Sundays in the Hartford Courant, but she was profiled in that. And that's just an example of what an advocate she was for her community. And of course, she was the first woman mayor. And again, as a trailblazer, that's, that word is consistent tonight. She did lead by example. Oh, I love that, Ed. The human roadblock. That is awesome. That's awesome. But when it came time for me, I frequently worked behind the scenes. I didn't run for public office until I ran for mayor. I'd always served things and work. But Barbara really was a big cheerleader. She was always a big supporter. She always wanted to know how people's kids were doing. And, she was able to balance, much like Regina, I think, without even really knowing. Barbara is very much like her as far as being able to balance everything. But when I ran for mayor, she was, because of the connection, I think, too, she was a big supporter and emotional supporter and a big advocate. She's like, you have to do this. You have to do this. She was the only female mayor at that time. She was the first, and then there was a huge gap before the second one, and that was me. And just to give you an example of the wonderful kind of person that she was beyond just the professional, again, the warmth and the just the compassion, the warmth, the reaching out, that whole family connection. Barbara had health challenges towards the end. She and I both had something else in common. Unfortunately, we were both breast cancer warriors. But she was always an advocate for women's equality and for women in general. And if she knew you, even more. But just two little anecdotes, personal ones about Barbara, that when she was no longer the mayor, but she was still serving on the council, everybody who was around at that time knew that there were she was always very passionate. So there'd be heated debates, and she never backed down regardless. And she was tough as nails. And sometimes things could get a little bit feisty, but my friend Todd Casano, another former mayor, told a lovely story, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this. He said, despite the heated debates that they would get into, when his son was born, Barbara was the first one there with a card, and it was either a $10 or $20 bill in the card. It's customary to give, it's an Italian thing, it's customary to give a card with a little boost. And she made sure that she gave that to him, which just shows what a warm and wonderful person she is and how she could put those things aside and it wasn't personal. And then the last thing is when I was running, Barbara insisted on walking with me when I was campaign walking. And she was very, very sick at the time. And Butch will remember this because I think he was beside himself with worry. But she insisted on walking. I said, all right, Barbara, I'll drive you and we'll go together. You can sit in the car and I'll go to the doors. Nope. And she came with me and she insisted on getting out of the car. And I tried to stop her and she'd go, nope, they're going to expect me to be there with you. I want to show that I support you. And that feisty little woman walked her whole neighborhood with me, despite her own challenges, because it was just something she believed in. And that's how she lived her life. And I was fortunate to be able to participate in the memorial naming of the green space when we got it. Her daughters had brought that to the council, and I was happy to be a part of that. And then I was able to be part of the dedication ceremony. And she has that beautiful space that is very fitting for somebody who was so passionate about Rocky Hill, about the environment, about birding, all those things that were meaningful for her. She now has a space where hopefully her family will be able to enjoy, and it will bring them some solace, hopefully, to see that she's been memorialized.
Wonderful and inspirational. I'm glad that Barbara forgave Todd. I was actually there that evening. Yeah, when he turned the mic off. That wasn't the thing to do with Barbara. Not going to turn Barbara off. No way. So thank you, Claudia. And Representative Wood, you gave us a little tease, but do tell, who are the influencers of Miss Wood?
Well, I'm going to talk about my great aunt. This is my grandfather, John McKenna, which I'm sure many people on the call remember. His sister, Kathleen Tracy, was known as Kitty Tracy. And Kitty held the position that I'm in as state representative. She was born in Newington, but moved to Rocky Hill and lived there for 26 years. And she served as state representative. And in her era, this is the time of Ella Grasso and Barbara Kennelly and Gloria Schaefer. And there was all these, you know, women that were running the state. And my great aunt was right up there with them. After she was state representative, she actually ran for the Senate and served there for a term. And she also was mentored the future state representative, Richard Tulisano, who served after her. So really interesting how small things are when you start putting things together. But she also played a major role in establishing through legislation Elm Ridge Park. And when Richard Tulisano was state representative, we all probably remember that he added another 25 acres to Elm Ridge Park, which is the Veterans Memorial. So I just want to show you some pictures. This is Kitty at her desk. This is her campaign picture. And other women that inspire me are my family, and these are the Tracy women, and they would dress up in their green blazers and campaign all throughout Kitty's campaigns. And down here at the bottom is Sheila Gassick, and Sheila is watching here, and Sheila and my mother, Holly Zepps, I want to give a shout out to as women that inspired me. They are my current Tracy ladies, always there supporting me and helping me. And, you know, oh, I also want to share this, Claudia, you would appreciate this. This is me with Richard Tulisano outside.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So, yeah, it was, you know, there's so many women that in my family that have always, you know, I guess I'm really lucky to have such a large Irish family that everyone stayed local and helped and supported each other, because I wouldn't be here, you know, without other women, you know, helping me get here. And, you know, beside every woman is also, you know, a man who's been very supportive. But I just want to touch on, you know, what, you know, Regina said, which is we may not be the first women that have held these seats, but we don't have many first minority women that have held these seats. So we do have firsts that are well on their way. And our town is very diverse and growing. And, you know, we're still going to hit milestones in the future. So it's, you know, really, you know, exciting to see as our town grows.
Thank you. And any of those pictures that you like to share, we have a gentleman, right? I don't know if he's above you, but Tim Honan. Tim, wave your hand. Tim is our photo guy now, and we love to document some of that, but especially with you and Richard Tulisano. You were very young then, right? I mean, that was like what? It's hard to see in the picture, but you look like about 5 or 6.
Here, and this is outside. Do you remember we used to do something called Life Be In It? Does anyone remember that? This is the Life Be In It event we had right at the town hall. So Ed, just right next door to where you are on the lawn there.
Nice.
There was an event, and I think I remember a hot air balloon and some other stuff, you know, that we did. My parents were very active in the Lions Club and the Elks Club, so we were always doing things growing up. And, you know, when you're in a small town, you just bump into people, you know, and your paths cross so often with all the different groups you belong to. And, you know, I'm one of 3, so between sports and all the other things we did, it's like you knew everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So very interesting, very, very interesting. Any questions about our influencers who have influenced no, wait a second. Our leaders who have been influenced by the you know what I'm talking about. we're all standing on the shoulders of everybody that has gone before, and we're trying to get everybody together to move forward, right? So any questions for our esteemed panelists? Tim Honan is raising his hand, I see. Tim?
Yeah, if I could just say something for the four women that have been here and talked about the people that have inspired them. I think you're going to be the inspiration for the next generation of people. I'm going to tell a story. It'll be brief, but it'll look tangential, but it'll come back. I'm an engineer. My father was an engineer. My grandfather was an engineer. And I sort of came of age. I was 14 years old in 1969 during the Apollo moon landings, which is one of the great engineering achievements in history. Really inspired me to engineering. But what's relevant for the conversation today here, and I didn't notice it at the time, but when I look back at the pictures from that era, almost everybody involved with that program was at the time a white male. So of course it was an inspiration to me. And I think just the fact that there's women that are out there now, such as the four of you are out there being visible and being an inspiration to another, will inspire a whole new generation of people to come forward and achieve things. As you're standing on the shoulders of others, next generation will stand on your shoulders. So I just wanted to thank you for being there and being visible and helping make the world a better place. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. That's the guy. That's the guy you got to get the pictures to, Kerry.
Ed, I have a quick question for Regina.
Please.
Regina, what day in December would you like Ed and me and Tim to come over and film your 31 trees so that we can use them from the Historical Society for a program?
Oh boy.
We're open.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. I have a very nice, actually my daughter put together a very nice video of it for 2020, since we could not invite friends and family over. And we were able to use either the few trees that we did put up that year, this 2020, and also from the photos. And so maybe I can share that with you, and you'll see. And we were able to get 30 of the trees in it. With one tree that I hadn't taken a photo of. So I'd be more than
because we'll be glad to bring over appetizers and food for the food bank.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Any other questions?
And Barbara Sawillo is one of the first women. I moved to Rocky Hill in the 70s. And when 291 came up, I was right down to town hall because it was going to go in behind my house. And I was not a happy person. So I enjoyed her. I watched from afar sometimes to just see how she was going to convince some of the men in town that her way was the way. And of course, most of us women were rooting her on at all times and doing what she would like for us to do. So she was one of my first politicians in Rocky Hill that I really looked up to and enjoyed.
Thank you, Gail. I think we're going to wrap up here. We've been an hour and a half. I'm very excited to hear all these different stories. Before we do, I want to give our town historian Bob Heron a bit of time, because you know, Bob, I know, is listening, and his wheels are going, his wheels are spinning, and he's saying, boy, if I could just get Regina down and Claudia and Kerry, if I can get Lisa and all of them down, I really can get a real good history of each and every one of them, you know, Bob Heron. But he's also doing something about notable women. Bob, tell us a little bit about that. Just give us a brief couple, 2 minutes.
All them remarkable women. And we're going to be doing a presentation at the Historical Society annual meeting. But what I did was, when we started talking about the Women's Year, remarkable women, what have you, I started going through my files and listing remarkable women. And so far I've got 42. I'm going to add 43 because I forgot about Kitty Tracy. and thumbnail sketches for each one of these women so we know who they are. For the Historical Society meeting, I picked 5 good ones. 5 women, Joe Kohanek said people die twice. The first time is when they expire. The second time is when everybody forgets them. And when I was going through this file, I found these 5 women who, if I used their names, very few people would remember them. And they really should. An example would be Margaret, known as Grandma Griswold, who was the president of the Sunnycrest Farm Trust for about 80 years. She died when she was 102. Every check that went out, she signed. She was a matriarch. She was incredible. And if you know Sunnycrest Farm, you know that was a big thing in Rocky Hill. And who knows who Grandma Griswold was. So I'd like to bring those people back to life if I can. So I've got 5 of them. I've got 43 women who I think are remarkable. I'll be doing that as a presentation. In the long term, I've got a fantasy that I don't know if I can make it happen or not. The way we have halls of fame for athletes in the town hall, I'd like to talk to somebody, Parks and Rec, whoever, form a committee, go through the women, add to the list. There are probably people I didn't find, and put up a plaque that acknowledges these as remarkable women. That's it. That's all I got to say.
I told you he has that. The man is just, that's not crazy. I'm not talking about crazy. The wheels are turning always. And he's a machine. If you don't know Bob Herring, he's our town historian. And we certainly thank him for all of he's done over the many years, the books he's written, and bringing a lot of history together. Now, lastly, we just want to give our membership, I don't want to say Chair Jack, but our membership, Chair Jack Casella, our Vice President, just a minute to talk, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ed. I would like to thank all the distinguished women on tonight's panel for sharing their stories and their perspectives with us. I just want to mention that these monthly programs are developed and presented by our society volunteer members, and they require a lot of their time and skill to present the interesting and the varied programs. If you're a current society member, we encourage you to volunteer to help with these type of programs, as well as other initiatives such as the current library renovation, updating museum displays, and those types of things, just to keep the history of Rocky Hill alive. If you're not a current member, we encourage you to contact us to learn how you can help using your unique skills and experience and have some fun with us. So thank you again for your participation tonight, and hope to talk to some of you and all of you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. And if there's anybody else, final comments here?
And I just want to thank you and the Historical Society for putting together this very fun and important program, and for the honor of being included in it.
It wasn't hard. I all I had to do is think, who do I know? And I said, well, it was easy. It was an easy answer to me. So Mayor Lisa Marotta, Judge Claudia Baio, Connecticut Emergency Management and Homeland Security Deputy Commissioner, I got the whole name in, Regina Rush-Kittle, Representative Kerry Wood, we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. It's all history now. This has been recorded. I want to say that. And I want to thank you very much from the Rocky Hill Historical Society. You all take care. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
Thank you, Ed. Good night, everyone.
Bye. To the new dog park. Dance with your friends at Elmridge Park. We're rocking in Rocky Hill. We'll pick your brush up on the street side. We'll plow like you've never seen before. We'll try to keep your taxes in line so you can do some more. Rocking in Rocky Hill, the best place to live if you drive 4-wheel. Get off the highway and stay for a while. You're guaranteed a great big smile. We're rocking in Rocky Hill. We're rocking in Rocky Hill. We're rocking a rockety, Rocky Hill.